Hello, thank you once again for tuning in. My name is Nehru, and welcome to The Encourager. This morning or today, I would like to continue or bring you up to date uh, on the third party karmic false twin flame scorpionic situation that triggered my awakening and has caused me to just do just that and ascend. And I don't know what I don't know what the pace is, or what have you. Because I was going to say quickly, but I don't know that. But to me, based on what I went through for 3 years, again, that's a number three. Um, and so just wanted to bring you all up to date on that. Uh, and so a little bit about myself. Again, if you've listened to the other videos, first of all, thank you very much. I don't do this for money, and I don't do this for subscribers. I have stepped into my full earth angel healing, Pisces ascendant, uh, ascendant master energy. And so a little bit about myself. I was born on the 333rd day of the year. That is November 29th. And so November is an 11. The 29th is an 11. It's also a 7. It also breaks down to a 7. Also, the year that I was born is an 11 or a 3. And so it's either 11, 7, 3 or 11, 11, 11, the way it breaks down. So I am the eldest of 17. And again, that number is very significant to me. And so is the number 7. I am a healer, and my healing comes through the unconditional love that I have. And so, for those of you who have listened to other videos so far, you know that I grew up in a polygamist family. My father Kevin was a polygamist for 30 something years. He's now serving a 44 to 66-year sentence in a Michigan state prison, and now dealing with the karmic justice. Me having ascended, and him now dealing, and others around the country dealing with the karmic justice that has come upon them now, that because I've pulled my energy back and have now focused on myself and my aligning and my ascension and my chakra alignment, and beyond the 7 chakras into the galactic and universe chakras, into the soul or star chakra, which is the 8th chakra actually. And so focusing on 12 at this time chakras rather than the main 7 that most speak of or focus on. Again, I'm the eldest of 17, and they're all brought about because of my father Kevin's choices. So as far as the karmic situation is concerned, they are currently, again, experiencing karmic justice. I was introduced to them, as I've mentioned in the other videos, through a mutual friend of ours in 2018. And then about a year later, we actually started seeing one another. We did not see each other at all physically during the 2018 to 2019 when we were reconnected, through a series of text messages. And so her being she is my twin flame. And that was I'm going to say plan A. That was the original intent of the Father, was for us to be together and us to go on to do what I'm going to go on to do with the soulmate that is now going to be connected to me. The Sekhmet, for those who are familiar with the Egyptian god goddess, and I am connected with Ptah, and so um, that's who I am waiting on, and I will not marry or even entertain anyone else for more than a conversation, because my intuition will tell me whether or not this individual is the one or not. And so I have been celibate for quite some time now. And again, that's all part of the awakening that started in 2000, end of 2021. And so um, uh, and so since being in solitude, I've been in solitude now, it's approaching 9 months, and really left the house for really only necessities. Previous life, I was a bookkeeper, an accountant, tax accountant, various titles over the years. And now I've done away with all of those clients. I have no more of those clients. That business is going to be dissolved legally on paper this year, but as far as the actual work in it, it's already done. So because I've transitioned into what my true purpose is, right? And so again, met this karmic in 2018. And to show you again, if you have not listened to the other videos, I do encourage you to go back and listen to those. But just a very quick synopsis of the mirroring that happens when you are connected with a twin flame, and they don't have to be karmic or false all the time, but the relationship presents unique challenges because they are a mirror of you. So if you say yes, they often say no, or if you are in a loving mood, they're awfully stern and ugly, right? So it's just that's what it is. That's the energy. So I was, as I said, born on 11/29. She was born the same year on 11/13. Okay, and so that's a 16. There's 16 days difference in there, right? 16, and that is an 8 and an 8. There's a mirror there. Okay, I am a kidney transplant recipient. Healed myself after 3 weeks of saying I don't need dialysis. I was on dialysis for 4.5 years. I don't need dialysis. I'm just here to socialize, is what I would tell myself as I was driving down the highway to treatment and from. And whenever it came to mind, I would tell the nurses that in the facility, and I'm very well connected with them today. They are like sisters to me, and I call them my dream team. So 3 weeks after declaring that to them and to the universe, the phone rang, and there was a kidney transplant, and that transplant happened on 7/7 of 2017. Again, sevens and 17, very, 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 very prominent and key in my life. Again, born on the 333rd day of the year, so is 33, extremely prominent in my life. I've seen 33 multiple times throughout. I see it throughout the day, all the time. Same thing with 333, same thing with 111. I see it all the time. 1010, I see it all the time. And so we end up dating each other in October of 2019. And the relationship moved very quickly. And so I moved out of the townhouse that I was in at the time and moved in with her. And fairly early, I go back in my journals and look, and early on it was chaotic, right? I am a very private person when it comes to my quarters, right? My living space, but I am extremely social and outgoing when I step outside the door, because again, that is the healing part of me. That is the unconditional love, to love everyone, easily forgive. I forgave my father for taking my first wife, which he did. If you haven't heard that, please go back and look at my polygamous family. I think I mentioned it in all 3 parts of those videos, but maybe not. And that was back in 1998 when I was in the military and stationed in Germany. I served 8 years in the military because, and again, I don't think there's any greater voluntary duty that you can do than to fight for, willing to die for a stranger, right? And it is said that only Christ and the soldier ever voluntarily died for strangers. And I truly believe that. Okay. And so I am a huge patriot, not because America is a great country, because I don't believe it is, but because this is the land that I am in. And because of my warrior spirit and mentality. And I've always been that way. I was a fighter when I was a kid. I didn't realize it was a spiritual internal thing, but I was. And so I've always been that way. I've always been that way. I'll go by myself. I fight by myself. I don't need support. I don't need anyone around me. I am with my angelic hosts, my guardian angel, my ascended masters, of course, divine, my ancestors. I am a self-contained unit, in my opinion. I don't need anyone else. Anyone that I invite in, today I allow them in because my intuition says that they are part of my soul tribe, and otherwise I don't. Even if they don't have necessarily any evil intentions, I've just grown to be that way through this ascension process. And so, whereas before, in low vibration, I was friends with everybody, right? Friends everywhere, right? All over the place, right? And I would forsake myself and my own needs to appease everybody else, to the point of being broke and financially, and broke in spiritually, right? Which again is what led me to the awakening. So early on, once I moved in with her, it was disastrous fairly early on. And that was just one of the issues, again, because her lifestyle was people come and go all the time. Do not show up at my house without calling me first. I am not that person, because I am definitely going to ask you, what the hell are you doing here? What the fuck you want, right? Because I'm just not that person, okay? So what ended up happening was, when I moved in with her, there was one gentleman staying with her, and he was in his 30s, and still is, I believe. And he was just camped out there, essentially. She had known him, I think, since he was 16. And one of the unique things that I found out about her, I had never dated a woman who was associated with, and this is in no way a slam against anyone who's biracial or transgender or homosexual or lesbian, or there's no way, but I have never been associated with someone who was so heavily involved with people who were one of those. Never, right? And so me being a believer, that stood out to me. Okay. And again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. You live your life based on your intuition, and hopefully that intuition is with your crown chakra and third eye wide open. Hopefully it is, and all your other chakras aligned, because if you're not living that way, then you're not living. You're really just kind of a robot, right? In the 3D, which is what the world wants, right? That's why they've hidden scriptures from us, right? That's why the Vatican has books and things that they will not allow man to see. This is why the book of Enoch, the Gospel of Thomas, this is why the Dead Sea Scrolls, this is why things were removed for the enlightenment of man, to keep us in the dark. Okay, so as it turns out, and I mentioned that for a reason about her, as it turns out, she actually turned out to be bisexual, but she actually prefers women. But because she calls herself a Christian, she refuses to publicly acknowledge that she's actually a lesbian and not heterosexual. Okay, so that is one of one of the things that's been uncovered since me going into this ascension process. And now I know that she ghosted me, one, first of all, because she was trying to hurt me, right? But then when I decided, right, to go into solitude as I was led by Holy Spirit, once I decided to do that, then I began to be awakened and began to see things through my third eye, and get downloads that revealed to me who she really was, right? And again, that was the original father. The father's original plan was for us to be together, right? Because you can work together and be together as twin flames, right? But she chose otherwise. She was connected to her former husband, and I believe she started a relationship. In fact, I know she started a relationship with someone else who turned out to be a karmic as well while we were engaged. We were engaged to be married on December 11th of 2021. And again, I picked that number because it numbers saying forwards and backwards. And I forget, someone told me some time ago what it means when the numbers are the same forwards and backwards. And I forget what that's called at this time. But so I didn't realize that when I picked the date. I picked the date for other reasons. Right? So needless to say, that marriage did not happen, thank God. And so as time went on, the gentleman who was 16 and now still living with her in his 30s, I had a conversation with her, and I said, why is a 30-year-old grown-ass man still living with you? He's not even your son. Like, what is that? Right? Indicator, right? So, and he is in a same-sex marriage. Ironically, I mentioned my father's name is Kevin. Ironically, his partner's name is Kevin. That's just funny. Although it's spelled Keven, right? So anyway, so I have numerous conversations with her about him stepping up to the plate and being a real man and moving out on his own, outside of mental, physical, or for reasons for caring for a parent. There's no reason why a 30-something-year-old man for long term. Now, I understand you're going through a divorce or separation and you need to move with your parents. Job transfer, right? You need to move in or something like that. You sell a house, right? You need a place to stay temporarily while you purchase your other one or get another one or relocate. Those sorts of things. I've had to do that once with my mother, right? And so that absolutely understand, right? And I was with her for about 6 months after I had left the woman that I was married to, the second marriage that I've had. And I've had 2 marriages, so that second marriage. And so, again, I have no problem with that, but he had been with her his entire, from 16, he had been with her all that time, right? Surely you could have done something to better yourself, and be accountable and step out into some responsibility. So ultimately that did happen. And so that was one of the issues. And again, what we both agree on, her and I, is that we definitely moved way too fast. That's the first thing. Although I believe that the only reason she would have had to delay things was so that she could try to cover stuff up. That's the only reason why, before I moved in, right? That was the only reason why, okay? And so ultimately, he moves out, and she has a daughter. Now, her daughter is adopted. And again, this is another one of those mirroring situations. So I was in a relationship some 2 decades ago with a Spanish lady. And she had 2 small kids at the time, and she became impregnated. And neither one of us were really in position to to financially care for another child at that time. I was fresh out of the military, and then my frustration for getting out of the military, and then the way that life was going after the military, I wasn't happy with that. So I was really I had taken some type of, or what I consider some type of sabbatical. That's not possible, but that's the word I'm going to use. Away from the Father, the ministry, church, house, I call it a house, place that I was a part of, and sent to after I got out of the military. I'd actually started receiving cassette tapes from them. So I knew that that's the place that I was called to. I have since left that place after 20 years. I am no longer associated with them in any way, shape, form, or fashion, because they are, again, extremely religious. And when I decided to share what Holy Spirit had shown me in regards to this woman who was now also a part of that place, right? And going there, then he, the senior minister there, he chose not to believe me. His name is Steve. He chose not to believe me, right? He said, there's no way this is happening, right? Because his pride would not let him believe that demons sit in those chairs. And not only do demons sit in the chairs on Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday, whenever the doors open, they also preach on Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever day. You see what I'm saying, right? And if you don't believe me, again, go take a listen to the Polygamous Family, true story of mine, and how my father promoted himself as a pastor, a reverend, which is not a biblical title, by the way, promoted himself as a reverend all of those years, 30-something years, while being a polygamist, having children with various women, and having multiple women at the same time. We all went to the same church and all of that, right? And so these ministers, these hypocrites, these liars, manipulators, thieves, they steal your money, they steal your time. That's what kings do. Kings are thieves. For those of you who are familiar with tarot, you know that a king is not an emperor. A king is not a priest, a priestess, or a queen, right? You know, a king is low, right? So, like a knight, right? So these individuals chose to steal, right? And that's what kings do. They take your time, they take your money, they take your wisdom, they take your energy, which is what my father's focus was on me, was to take my energy, because he knew who I was when I was born, right? So Steve would not believe me. So I decided that I was going to dismiss myself from them and dismiss them. And I've had a couple of phone conversations, and I've expressed to those individuals who have called me, reached out to me, that I am no longer associated with them, and I've decided to go spiritual rather than religious. And yeah, and so I took my unconditional love and healing anointing, earth angel anointing, and I left. And so I have no communication with them today. To my knowledge, she's still there, unless she's running scared, which she could be, because Karmic Justice again has now been unleashed, because she's decided with the karmic that she cheated on me with, and her former husband, ex-husband, that she was married to for 24 years. And again, that number is extremely important. Decided that they were going to come against me. They were going to commit fraud. So there was some type of insurance policy or something that was falsified in order for her to receive money. She may have purchased property with this money. And again, once I began to go through the Ascension process and I began to see these things, then I began to do things to expose these things without ever reaching out to her. So these things included first of all, she wanted, again, my energy, my healing, unconditional love energy, right? Because that is what allows these individuals to keep their strength. Okay, so if you are an earth angel, right, if you are a light worker, if you are an empath, right, I encourage you to do regular salt baths, egg cleanses, sage your space on the daily basis. I would encourage you to do that on the daily basis. The saging, right? And there are numerous other candles, and there's various other things. Just look up cleansing work for cleansing your energy, and you'll come up with something that speaks to you. Okay. And so those are some of the ways that I began to rid myself of the energy. And as I began to do this, more and more clarity and downloads began to happen. And so this is how I found out that they were stealing from me, forged my name, tried to take some paperwork to court, which I think in the 3D is what alerted authorities. Okay, so then authorities got involved. And so now at this point, there's an investigation going on that is coming to a close. And there are both intuitive investigators and law enforcement, and there's low vibration 3D subconscious only individuals in those positions as well. Right? And so there's an investigation going on now in regards to insurance fraud or monetary theft of some sort. Again, here's another mirroring. So I, along with being an accountant, prepared tax returns, and I've done that for many, many years. She is also a tax preparer, right? This lady. And again, I did not know that before. Well, I couldn't have known that before I met her, but I found that out in 2018 when I met her through this mutual friend, when they contacted me to help them establish a tax preparing firm, a company. Okay, and so again, there's another mirror. Okay, so as I began to see the truth in what was really going on, right, and how she really just wanted to use me for energetic reasons and her own benefit. So she would ghost me, and then she would come back. And this is after I moved out, because I moved out at the end of 2021 or beginning of 2022, because things had just really fallen apart. And I again began to see that there was gaslighting that was happening, and those things were happening on purpose. And so once I began to see that clearly, as difficult as it was, because with all those things in common, one would think that's a match made in heaven. One would think, because there's a balance, right? One would think. However, again, she turned karmic or false because of her choices, because of greed. And that's the only focus she has or had. Today, she's in sorrow. She's probably diseased, whether that's an STD or something else physically. And she's a paralegal. So she definitely had the mental capacity to forge documents, and she had the security to do so at her office. So, yeah. And my understanding is also that there's a possibility that she actually took from the firm that she was employed with. I don't believe she's employed there anymore. Again, I haven't looked into that because that's not my responsibility. I have released her and their entire family, in fact, and they're all Scorpios. So she's a Scorpio, born on 11/13. Her former husband is a Scorpio. Her best friend is a Scorpio. Her son's ex-fiance, she left him because of mental issues that he was having and had to continuously be admitted to the VA hospital. She's a Scorpio. Her mother is a Scorpio. So there's a lot of water energy that the Scorpionic energy that I was in, and I had no idea I was swimming amongst a pool of Scorpios. And so they all treated me so nice and loved me and all of that. But behind closed doors, she was a demon, and I have no problem saying that. And because her intentions were evil and ugly, just like Kevin's, right? Just evil and ugly, right? He's a Gemini. That is my moon sign. I'm a Sagittarius. And so, again, very demonic, evil, the devil incarnate kind of energy that these individuals really are, right? And so today, again, there's the investigation that's going on, and I know for sure that this investigation goes far beyond me. It might have something to do with MK Ultra. For those who are not familiar with that project, I encourage you to look into what MK Ultra is or was, quote unquote, was, and the unlawful and illegal government activity that was used to drug people with LSD and to see how they would react. And anyway, I'm not going down that rabbit trail. So anyway, they've decided to get together. So my father, Kevin, I say my father because it's out of habit. I don't consider him my father today. So Kevin decided that he did not want me to be married. He did not want me to reproduce. This is why he took my first wife. This is why he, through witchcraft and sorcery spells over my lifetime, has ruined every relationship I've had. Okay, so again, took my first wife and then works with this. I almost said her name, and then works with this individual that I was engaged to work against me. Right? And again, she took the bait. She received money to work against me. Her focus was, she was supposed to end my life. That was really what her goal was. She's the hitman, right? So she was supposed to end my life. However, when I pulled my energy back, then that failed. And so I remember the last time I went over to her house, it was to get my motorcycle. And she kept offering me coffee, right? And that was something that we would do on a regular basis. She drank coffee all of the time, even in the evening. I didn't do that typically. But if I stopped over, even after we've seen each other, because again, my